Hey everybody, it's Eric from epautos.com, your libertarian car guy, and I'm looking at the guts of the 1980 Harley-Davidson Sportster starter mechanism. And those of you who've been following this saga know I've been having trouble getting the bike to start because the starter system won't work. What's been happening is, I won't be able to show it to you, but this is the gear, this gear, that's supposed to, when you click the starter solenoid and you push the starter button, mesh with the gear on the back of the clutch basket here and rotate your engine. The problem is when you hit the starter button, the starter solenoid engages, starter spins. What I've been having is that the gear will come out and it will mesh, but it doesn't spin, and I can hear something spinning in there. So I puzzled over it for a while. Decided to take everything apart and one by one diagnose everything. I bench tested the starter. Here's the starter. It's fine. I took off, this is the housing that controls the works, that controls the, the solenoid bolts in here on the opposite side, the starter bolts down here, and then this is the actual mechanism that runs everything. And I found some interesting things out, and I think I may know what the problem is, or problems. I found a couple of problems. One, I'll show you how this thing all goes together, but this shaft rides in that needle bearing right there. And the original needle bearing, which is here, is pretty badly chewed up. There were some metal fragments and debris in there, and so there was a lot of wobble and play on the shaft. That was one problem. This shaft kind of goes together. I'm doing this one-handed like that. And the gear goes in here thus, and you can see it engages that gear, or at least it's supposed to, and that's how it's supposed to turn. So there was that issue. That's one issue. The second issue I found, doing it on the opposite side, this is your starter clutch, this is the gear that actually engages, and this thing's only supposed to spin one way, not the other way. I'll put it on here so that I can show you something. This goes in that, like that. And what happens when you hit the starter and engage it, this is, see if I can do it with one hand, it's supposed to turn, freewheel turn this way, but it actually is supposed to rotate out on the shaft like that, and then connect that gear, so it spins out like that, spins out. I'm doing it this way. Really, the gear goes up and down on this shaft. Another problem that I found while I was dissecting all of this was that this shaft was fairly scored, and this bushing, which rides in there, which is held in place by that, was actually fused onto this shaft, and it's normally supposed to rotate freely, and my theory is that it got fused on at a point that allowed this gear to actually move a little bit farther than it should have forward. Now, if you can see the relationship between this gear and this gear, so it's only supposed to come out to about here when it rotates up and down on the shaft. But in my case, I think it was coming out just far enough that it was slipping here like that. And so this was spinning inside here and not turning the gear, hence not turning the engine. And I'm pretty sure that is what my problem is. Now, I learned from an old Harley mechanic a kind of interesting and low bucks little trick, which I'll show you, to fix that shaft, or at least we'll see if it fixes that shaft. Take your drill, and if you have a problem with a shaft like this that's got some scoring on it, you can insert it into, chuck it into your gear, into your drill just like that, and then take some fine sandpaper, like 1500 or 2000 grit sandpaper, turn the thing on, and like you're using a lathe, polish this shaft. And I did that with this, and the result of doing that is that now my shaft here freely comes on and off and moves up and down correctly to the extent that it's supposed to. So I think that once I get all this back together, fingers crossed, I'll be able to start the bike again, and she'll pretty much be done at that point. And I'll be able to hand her back to her owner, who will hopefully have many enjoyable, well, however long it runs before it breaks down again. But that's a whole nother story. Anyway, thanks for viewing, and we will see you at epautos.com and catch you on the